Today I'm back with another video. So many of you might know the distro Arch. It's a very popular professional or I wouldn't call it professional, but just a harder distro. So Arch is literally known for how hard it is to install because it doesn't come with any live ISOs or anything, so you just have to jump into TTY. Literally, it dumps you into a terminal and you just have to install everything. Some people argue against it, like Arch is really easy to install, you just copy commands. But personally, I wouldn't spend the time on installing Arch, but you might see right here in my NeoFetch, I have Arch. So today I'm going to be showing you a method where you can install Arch the very easy way. The other ways that YouTubers would tell you is that you'll be using like a script on Arch. It's still very hard to actually understand how those scripts work, and of course you'll still have to be using like fdisk or gparted in the TTY, which has always been a pain for me because it's kind of like playing Russian roulette with a semi-auto. You're always going to shoot yourself in the foot no matter why. So it's either that I've wiped the entire disk accidentally or I don't do something right. It's always a pain. Now here, I have a way that you can install Arch without actually installing Arch. So the first thing that I did was I just opened up GNOME boxes and I set up a really quick Manjaro XFCE session. You could do this with like any Manjaro thing. I did it with my main PC as well. This used to be running Manjaro, but I switched it over to Arch Linux with the script I'm going to show you. Ignore the really small font. I just set it up really quickly. I haven't installed guest editions. So another reason why you might want to switch to Arch is this, Manjaro. So I've been a fan of Manjaro for a pretty long time, but I do dislike how it's running right now because recently it's been really down on updates. We haven't gotten GNOME 41 and it's been 2 months since GNOME 41 came, even though Manjaro is supposed to be bleeding edge rolling distro. And of course, Manjaro has also done some really bad things. It broke the repositories, and then because their TLS thing ran out, and then they just told everyone to set their clocks back. Right here, their SSL certificates. Literally. And then they also technically DDoS the AUR because PAMAC constantly breaks, and then it'll just spam send requests every time that you type in if you search for something on PAMAC. If you search on something for PAMAC, and then with the AUR option enabled, it'll constantly, every time you type in H, it'll search the AUR, it'll send the request, and since my Manjaro has a pretty big user base, that's gonna flood the AUR pretty quickly. And of course, there's some weird scandals with money. So let's stop daddling around, and we're gonna talk about Manjaro to Arch. This is a really simple script that just allows you to change your distro to Arch Linux, and this will basically, what it'll do is switch you to the Arch repositories and remove all the Manjaro branding. So if you see right here, you can see on the XFCE taskbar, you have the Manjaro logo. It's using the Manjaro theme. It has the Manjaro wallpaper. Right here it says Manjaro. So this will just remove all of these aspects, and it's pretty easy to use. But before I do say something, this script comes with, number one, it comes with 0 warranty. Number two, it only works on x86 64 and system. I did try it on an ARM-based Raspberry Pi, but that didn't work. So I'm going to show how the script works to you. It's real easy. So you just download the script from the releases on GitHub, and then you have to do a chmod. So let's just cd to my downloads, and then mod 777 the 2 Arch file. And then once that's done, you just do /2arch. You press enter your sudo password, and then it's just gonna synchronize the repositories. So while it runs, I'm going to talk about what it's doing right now. So what it's doing is that it's going to remove all the Manjaro repositories, and yes, I want to remove Pamac. And then it's also going to remove whatever Manjaro has added, like the Manjaro wallpapers. I'm going to use Nano for this. And then now this is the Arch repositories. So what I'm going to do is, if you're doing this at home, I'd recommend you go through whatever country you live in and unhashtag all of them so you have the fastest. But since this is a virtual machine and I don't really care if it has the fastest package, I'm just going to go down to United States and just unhashtag a few of them real quick. So you gotta make sure that you actually do this properly. Here we are, or else that your Pac-Man will be broken and it's gonna be kind of a pain to try and fix it. So let's just do 6. I think that's enough. So you Control X to save, yes to save, and just hit enter. And while it's doing this, I might as well mention that this does remove the NVIDIA drivers temporarily and then put them back. It also changes the grub theme from whatever Manjaro has installed all the way to Arch, which is default. And let's look at this. So what it's doing, it's replacing all the packages that Manjaro has pre-installed with either an older or a newer version that Arch has in their repositories, because we just switched over to the Arch repositories. It's also completely reinstalling XFCE here, and this is going to take a long time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video and I'll come back when we're ready. Okay, so we're pretty close to finishing. It's just doing finishing touching. Is what Pac-Man usually does. And then see, that's what I said, it's going to remove all the graphics drivers for now. And of course, now it's asking me if I want to go for an LTS kernel or 2 for the normal kernel. I don't really care, so I'm going to go for 2 on the normal kernel. There are some differences, LTS usually tends to be more stable, but considering that I'm going for Arch in a virtual machine, I wouldn't really care if it's stable, because I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna do an rm-rf when I'm finished with this. So once again, I'll let it run, I'll let Pac-Man do its thing, and I'll come back when it's finished. And it also removes the Illyria wallpaper, which is what Manjaro has for their wallpaper. So they also removed the ZSH plugins. I don't really care about the ZSH plugins. So, and then now all we have to do is do a reboot. And once we finish rebooting, we should have Arch Linux. So you see grub is Arch. We have the Arch Linux theme. It is squished because I have a really bad resolution here. But if we boot now, you can see that there's no more Manjaro wallpaper. And there's also no icons because the Manjaro wallpaper, Manjaro icons are now gone. So you can set a new image. Should be able to set a new image if we wanted to, but I'm not going to do that. The Manjaro GTK theme is still here though, but that's a really quick change. Just pop into the settings and boom. Let's see. Do we have any emblems? Whatever, I'm not going to change this today. But you can do that if you have an actual picture you wanted to do. But if we quickly pop into settings and go to appearance, we could switch things to Adwita, Notospace. See, and now we have a pretty stock XFCE session with the Manjaro branding gone. Although some icons are still the Papyrus icons, but I wouldn't worry about it because the Papyrus icons do look pretty good. Now if we run a neofetch again, you get Arch Linux, and in fact, this is very stock Arch Linux. If you really want to do this and install i3, so you can definitely post on r/Unix forum and say that, hey, I installed Arch. Well, you didn't. This is, oh yeah, and they changed my like sign. It's no longer Manjaro VM. It's Arch Linux now. So that's going to be it. There's not much more I could talk about because this is just stock Arch with XFCE. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and remember, go rice your i3s.